Hello everyone, this is Shannon for Waffle Flower Crafts. In today's video, we're going to do some easy watercoloring using Tombow Dual Brush Pens and Waffle Flower's new Wild Roses stamp set. This is the Wild Roses stamp set. I think the set is so beautiful. I love the flowers and the leaves. All the little details on the leaves are really pretty, and the flowers are perfect for watercoloring because there's a fair amount of open space there, great for creating gradations. I have an A2 panel here of Bristol paper, and I also have some masks that I created earlier on some post-it notes. I just stamped it in black and then fussy cut right to the edge of that stamped line. Now I'm going to stamp my largest flower and a leaf here from the Wild Roses stamp set in VersaFine Onyx black ink. This is a waterproof ink because again we are going to do some watercoloring today. After I stamp that largest flower, I'm going to use my mask. I actually cut off kind of the sticky portion of this post-it note. It's not a full stick post-it note, so I'm just going to use a little piece of tape to kind of hold that mask in place. And then I arranged some leaves from the set, and then I'm just stamping them again in VersaFine Onyx black ink. I'll quickly stamp that single leaf one more time, and that will complete that cluster. And now I'm just going to work my way around this panel, stamping flowers and leaves using my masks whenever I stamp a leaf that I want to go behind a flower. This is a very simple panel, very simple card overall. I just wanted the real beauty of these leaves and flowers to stand out, so I kept it pretty simple. I did leave some white space here and there, you know, there's little gaps between my kind of clusters of flowers, but it's a very simple card design overall. So I've stamped that last flower here, and now my panel is completely done. I'm now going to move on to coloring. I'm going to be working on the water media mat, and I have my Tombow Dual Brush Pens already picked out, and over on the left I'm starting with a light green here. This is 133, and I'm just going to color directly with the marker on the paper the tips of the leaves. Once I've done that, I'll move to a much darker blue-green color and color kind of the base of the leaf where the leaf meets the stem, not meeting the two colors because I'm going to blend that out with some water. Now I have a number 2 round brush, and I'm getting small amounts of water on my brush. The water's actually sprayed down directly onto my mat. That way I can see the water droplets and just pick up a small amount of water with my brush. And then I blend over that dark color and move that color on my brush over to that kind of light lime green color. And it creates a nice gradation on this leaf. I really like to use 2 colors when possible because I think it has a much richer color. It's much more interesting. I'm doing the same process now on this second leaf. I always start each leaf at the dark color, so I start with that blue-green with my brush, start to pick up some of that color with my brush, and then move it out towards the center. If I have too much of that dark color, I'll wipe it on the mat or onto my towel. Right now I'm taking some of that darker color and just adding it to that second leaf just because I felt like the gradation was not quite as nice as it could be. And now I'm back on that third leaf, working that out, moving that darker color out to meet that lime green color. This is actually really easy to do, and it worked, and it goes really fast. I'm now going to move on to one of my flowers. I picked up 2 colors for my flowers today. I'm starting with my red color, and I'm just going to color the very tips of the petals with this red color. Any part of a petal that might be in shadow, like there's a couple parts that are cupped, I kind of color that cupped part in fully with that red color. Now I'm ready to start blending it out. So again, I get a small amount of water on my brush, start where that ink is at the tips of the petals here, and then I start blending it down. If I ever have too much of that color on my brush, I'll either wipe it on the mat or my towel and then start blending, and then go back to the paper and start blending it out again, because I want to create a gradation. If I don't stop and clean my brush every once in a while, it's all going to be one flat color on that petal. So it is important, if you want to create those gradations, to kind of clean your brush out, because otherwise you're just going to have the same value of color all over that petal, and you won't get that nice gradation where it's darker on the tips and lighter towards the center. So I continue to work my way around this flower, and I'm almost done. I have just one little petal here, and I'll just finish that up, and you can see how quick and easy it is to color in this flower. I'm now moving on to my second flower. I went ahead and colored the tips with my more magenta color already, And I just did that off screen because that's pretty much what you've seen me do already for the red flower. And now again, I'm taking that brush, just very little water. I think that's a big thing to emphasize here. You do not need a lot of water to get this ink to start moving on this Bristol paper. Bristol paper is nice and smooth, and that ink will really move with very little water. And I'm continuing to create that nice gradation, cleaning out my brush whenever I need to on the mat or the towel, and that completes that flower. So the center of these flowers are all the same. I'm using a lighter yellow, kind of coloring the whole center of the flower and with that lighter yellow, and then I move to an orange and I color the very center, just a little bit in the center, and then around the edge of the inside of the flower, and that will complete the center. No watercoloring there, just kind of the marker. I'm now going to repeat this process for all of my flowers and all of my leaves. So how you saw me color those first two is just repeated here over and over again for the remaining flowers and leaves. I tried to keep the watercoloring pretty simple. The leaves are the most complicated because they have two colors to create that gradation, but overall I think it's a very simple coloring project. If you've been intimidated by watercolors in the past, I suggest giving Tombow Dual Brush Pens a try. I found them really easy to work with, and I just love how bright and vibrant their colors are. So now I'm going to gild the lily a little bit here and add a shadow to these stamped images. I love for florals to add a shadow, especially when it's a pretty simple card. It really helps these images kind of pop off the page, and it just really makes it a really exciting look. So I have a nice light gray here, Tombow Dual Brush Pen, and I'm going around and coloring the lower left side of all the petals and the leaves. I'm thinking that my light source is from the upper right, and that's where my shadow would fall, is on the lower left side. I do break my rule or not color the lower left side here and there, so don't stress too much about making sure you're placing your shadows in the right spot, because you could even go all around your flower, all around your leaves with your shadow, and they would still kind of pop away from the page and have a really cool look. Right now I'm taking my brush with a little bit of water, and I'm just softening that edge of the shadow, kind of blending it out to the white of the paper. I just think it kind of makes it a little bit prettier and softer. And once I kind of finish those sections, I'll take my marker, color a few more sections, and then blend those shadows out. You definitely want to work with your Tombow Dual Brush Pens in sections. The longer the ink sits on the paper, the less movement you get from it with water. So don't color your whole panel first and then start with your water. Definitely work in smaller sections. So I just finished my last shadow here, and I'll hold it to the camera, and hopefully you can get a good look at some of these nice soft shadows. Definitely very subtle, but I do think it helps to make those flowers pop a little bit off of the page. So I went ahead and created a sentiment off camera. This is the Go Girl stamp set. I stamped You Are Amazing in VersaMark ink and then poured on some white embossing powder and heat set this. It's stamped obviously onto some black cardstock, and now I'm going to take my Bristol watercolor panel here and adhere it down to an A2 top folding card base turned on its side, and just kind of line the corners up. The liquid glue gives me a little bit of wiggle room to make sure it's all nice and straight. I removed the foam tape backing on my sentiment and I just stuck that down, and that will complete the card. I'll hold the card up to the camera so hopefully you can get a good look at the watercoloring, the shadow, and all those beautiful details in these images from the Wild Roses stamp set. I just love this set. I think it's gorgeous. I hope the watercoloring really looked easy to you guys on camera. I love coloring with my Tombow Dual Brush Pens. I find it a really simple and straightforward watercoloring process, and I hope that it looked that way to you guys too. And you can see here, unfortunately, my video camera couldn't pick it up, but how vibrant these colors are in the photos at the end here. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card. If you want any more information on the products I use, please visit Waffle Flower, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook and for more creative ideas. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.